Hi, I'm Reggie Turner. I'm here with Jim Miller, and the FlipSide starts right now. Hi, welcome to the show. On tonight's show, we're joined by Ed Lough, the president of the board of directors of the Washington County Commission on Aging.
Yes, sir.
And we're also joined by Herb Smith, the district governor for Rotary International. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jim, I know tonight we want to really dig in regards to the Commission on Aging. I'm going to let you kind of kick us off and get us started here.
Yeah, so Ed, start with you. Tell us about your role in the organization, what you do.
Well, I joined the board in 2018. I had no idea I was going to end up being president of the board. It wasn't my goal. And so this is my third year of serving as president. So primarily I am somewhat the face of the board of directors, the face of the executive committee, run the board meetings, and also make some appearances speaking on behalf of what the Commission on Aging does, such as this show currently.
Okay, excellent. Talk about the mission.
Well, we have a vision statement. It's Washington County is a community where all older adults enjoy an optimal quality of life and are able to age with choices, independence, and dignity. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, Jim. The 1965 Older Americans Act mandates that each jurisdiction should have an area agency on aging. And in the early 1970s, the county commissioners unanimously voted to appoint the Commission on Aging as the Washington County's area agency on aging. The State Department of Aging then formally designated the Commission on Aging. The State Department on Aging provides the formal oversight, both financially and programmatically, over all state and Older American Act at the Commission on Aging here in Maryland.
Gotcha. Ed, in 2018, what was your motivation to join? What got you into?
I wasn't really serving on any boards at that time. I've served on many boards over the decades here in Washington County, and I was asked by someone that I knew if I would consider serving on the Commission on Aging board. And I didn't give them an answer right away. I did a little research and realized that there was a great need in Washington County for seniors. When I was in the JC's organization, when I was a young man in my 20s and 30s here in Hagerstown, we used to do projects for seniors within the JC's. One of them that we did was called a paint and cleanup. We would go out to homes where elderly folks, seniors lived. We would clean up their yards, we would paint their house, do those kinds of things. So it wasn't something that I hadn't had some experience, in the past. So basically it was, I did some thoughts, and there was a request to join the board, and I thought I could join and maybe offer some help. That's pretty much it.
Talk about the specific services that the Commission on Aging offers here in Washington County.
Well, okay, we're going to talk about how we assess the needs.
Okay.
We'll do that. All right. So how do we assess the needs of the elderly in this community? And how do we tailor our services? So we utilize surveys. We have the County Commuter Needs Assessment, current trends, federal and state regulations, mandates to tailor our services. There's a new state mandate that's going to take effect on July 1st, 2024, which is quite concerning to us because we're going to be required to create a dementia care navigation program. And we're currently providing staff education and working within the State Department of Aging to implement this new program, and more will come on that. The problem that I say about that is the state's really not providing much money for the Commission on Aging across the state to implement this dementia program. That could be somewhat of a problem. I'd like to talk about some of the services that we do that you, I think, previously asked me. And there's just a ton of them, Jim and Reggie. We have a broad range of services for our seniors, from home and community-based service like homemaker, chores, personal care to legal assistance for advanced directives, subsidy program to help offset the cost of small assisted living, evidence-based education for health promotion and prevention, caregiver support, respite care, Medicare and other insurance counseling and support, advocacy efforts, fraud identification and help, application assistance, ombudsman services, advocating in the nursing homes and assisted livings, which has about 1,800 beds, not 18,000, 1,800.
That's across Washington County?
It's across Washington County. Guardianship services for seniors when they have no one else, and that's a 24/7 call service, okay, within our agency. Nutrition services like Meals on Wheels, which most people in the community are familiar with Meals on Wheels. That seems to be the big thing that most people know about. What they may not know about is we also have 7 congregate sites that we deliver meals to, all the way from Hancock to Boonesboro. So that's pretty much an overview of, not all of the services, but an overview of some of the services that we provide.
Now, the new building, I call it the new building.
Senior Center.
The new senior center, that was already in place when you joined the board?
It was. That building is owned by the county.
Good. Can you talk to us about that facility?
Well, we usually have a couple thousand seniors that use that senior center. There's all kinds of activities there for them to do. It's their center. There's also a new facility in the back that we have for them to use to get some exercise. We have some workout machines and bicycles and some light weights and things. There's all kinds of programs there. I can't tell you specifically the number of programs are there because I'm not specifically there, but it's certainly open to the public. We ask our seniors to register, and I'll tell you why. There's no fee to join. You just say, I want to be a member of the senior center. I think you have to be 55 years or older. We want them to register and get some information from them because we have to have that information for our grants. And so if we say in our grant writing that we have 2,000 members, we have to offer some information in that grant writing. And so that's the reason we do. And some seniors are concerned as to, why do you need my name? Why do you need this? Why do you need my address? And it's for the grant writing. That's the only reason it's for.
Okay. Reg?
Before we go too far, Herb, we talked a little bit before we came on the air in regards to your role with Rotary International in regards to support and helping with funding. Talk a little bit about your role in regards to supporting the efforts of the Commission on Aging.
Of course. When I was elected to be governor, one of the criteria is that as a sitting governor, I must partner with to help out and kind of work with their challenges, nonprofit organization. Well, I had already known about Washington County Commission on Aging, again, because my home club, Hagerstown Sunrise, partnered with them for our big dinner and auction. And what we did is, with that dinner and auction, we would split our proceeds from that and donate right into the Washington County Commission on Aging. So it was a hand-on-hand partnership. So I continued that because I believe in the ultimate goal is that no senior should ever be without what they need to live, or to more essentially without food.
Right.
So my role has been to try and help bring awareness to the Washington County Commission on Aging through Rotary International, through the district. I make sure that people are aware of what's going on there, what the needs are, speaking out at locations, at different clubs that, we have a need in Washington County, a major need, as we'll talk about here later with the Meals on Wheels program. But I start to try and work through possible fundraisers so that we can generate the much needed money to continue some of these programs.
Gotcha.
I'm proud of Rotary International and proud of what Herb's doing. I'm a 30-plus year member of Rotary myself, and the fact that they have an organization that I've been proud to be a part of join in this effort, it's just remarkable, and thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like that's an impactful partnership, and we've touched on it just a little bit, but for our viewers that don't know, if you've in this community, you've heard of Meals on Wheels, but explain to us what that program is.
Well, that program is for primarily homebound seniors and those with disabilities.
Okay.
And those that qualify for that are going to receive food under our Meals on Wheels program. On Monday, we deliver 2 meals. One's hot and one's cold. On Wednesday, we deliver 2 meals. One's hot and one's cold. And on Friday, we deliver another hot meal. So Monday, you eat the hot meal, and you put the cold meal in your refrigerator. And then Wednesday, you get another hot meal and a cold meal. So you get 5 meals per week. So those that are qualified for that receive that. We currently have about 120 people on the waiting list to receive meals. And that is a real issue, because as Herb said, no one should go without food, particularly homebound seniors and those with disabilities. These seniors and folks with disabilities grew up here, they raised their families here, they worked here, they paid their taxes here, they paid their dues here, they helped create what this county is today, and they're being ignored.
Now, what creates the wait list? Is that a capacity issue
Money.
in regards to having the funding, to have the staffing to be able to support additional citizens?
You know, the Washington County Commission on Aging also utilizes volunteers to deliver these meals. So we have a shortage with volunteers. We have a shortage on funds, because if you take an average meal is $20, and in that 5 meals for just one person, that's $100.
Right.
Okay. Now multiply that over all the citizens that we are currently delivering, and that money dwindles away very quickly.
Right.
I mean, very quickly. And there is not a sustainable income coming in to continue to support that. So this is what generates that wait list. So when we start getting more volunteers and we start getting money to funnel over into the Meals on Wheels, then we can add more people to that list.
And let me add to that, if I may.
Yes.
So the Meals on Wheels program is part of the mandated Title IIIC of the Federal Older Americans Act. Okay? Requirement to deliver home delivered meals to seniors in need. The program is not means tested per the federal guidelines. So when a client needs Meals on Wheels, they must first have a Maryland Access Point appointment. What is that? That's an intake interview. So you would call the Commission on Aging to have an interview, say I need to see what my mother or my father would qualify for. My mother lives alone, she's homebound, I need to see what services she can get. We would put her on a waiting list of about 200 and some people currently for the interview.
Wow.
It's about 4 months. So you come in to have the interview for your mom because she's homebound, and you may have her with you, but she may not be able to come. So you come in for the interview, Reggie, and she qualifies for Meals on Wheels.
And then she's on another waiting list.
Put her on another waiting list, okay? So that's part of the problem. The other thing is the cost of the meal is actually more like $10 instead of $20, but still it's $10, so $10.50, I think, to be exact. And once a client has that appointment and they're determined to be eligible, then they're referred to the nutrition department, and at that time we place them on that other wait list that we talked about. We are required to follow the federal and state guidelines and mean test all of the dietary requirements set forth by the state and federal government. That's what primarily drives the cost of each meal up to $10 plus per meal. It has to follow those nutritional guidelines that's set by the dietary. A dietitian must sign off on all meals, all menus. Now, there are other people in Washington County that are preparing food for people.
Right.
And that's wonderful. And I'm sure they're doing it for a cheaper expense. But we can't just give somebody a plate of spaghetti or a piece of pizza or whatever. It has to meet the dietary requirements set forth by the state and federal government, and it has to be signed off on. The menu has to be signed off on by a dietitian. So that's part of the other reel. All of our meals are delivered by volunteers who utilize their own vehicles. This is where I get to say, if you are interested in volunteering out there, please call us at 301-790-0275.
Say that one more time.
301-790-0275.
And before we get off that, I'm sure that there's a website that they can go to.
Yes, and I have it somewhere. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's WCOC wcocaging.org.
WCOCaging.org.
Yeah, it stands
Got
for
it.
Washington County Commission on Aging.
Ed, one question I
very
have for
good.
you is,
Thank
since you've been there since 2018, did COVID affect your volunteers? Did your volunteers go down as you went through COVID?
Not really, but we had a whole different set of rules during COVID. The dietary requirements set forth by the state and federal government were put aside.
So it was just meet the mandate.
Yeah, we could go to, as an example, not as a commercial, but as an example, we could go to AC&T and get chicken and French fries and deliver to the folks, and it was okay.
Right.
But then after COVID, after the pandemic,
They went back to the
everything
strict
came back.
regulations,
Yeah, everything
yeah.
came back. So the volunteers are pretty much in their own vehicle by themselves, and they could certainly wear a mask when they either went into the home and just delivered the meals. Part of that delivery of the meals also, Reggie and Jim, is it's a safety check.
Right.
Okay? We had a volunteer go in to a gentleman's home who was blind, and his dog alerted our worker, our volunteer, of a rattlesnake in this gentleman's house.
Wow.
And so phone calls were made. We were able to get in there and get this rattlesnake out of there. And so that was one of those situations where if we weren't delivering a meal, the gentleman's blind, unless he hears that rattle,
That was going to be a dangerous
that's going to be
situation.
could have been a very, very dangerous situation.
Yep.
Well, and I would bet that many, if not most, of the elderly people that you're visiting appreciate just the visit and the human interaction, and even though it may only be 3 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it's also a mental health check-in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
making sure that the individual isn't depressed or having anxiety. So the volunteer reports back to the Washington County Commission on Aging on the status of that individual. You know, how are they doing? They seem okay.
So Herb, back to the Rotary connection just for a second. I know there's more than one Rotary Club. Actually, there's many Rotary clubs in Washington County.
In Washington County, we have 5 Rotary clubs.
So is this a joint project between all of your
This is a
involvement?
project with me as the governor.
Okay.
But most of the Rotary clubs do partner with nonprofits, and like I said, Hagerstown Sunrise has partnered with Washington County Commission on Aging for our dinner and auction, and there's probably future projects that are going to happen with inside the county. I know that the new Hagerstown Sunset Rotary Club is going to be doing a partnership with the new fundraiser that's getting ready to launch.
Okay, excellent.
Can I give you a couple success stories?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Well, okay. So in 2023, we served 11,000 seniors, non-duplicated, 11,000 seniors, okay? Doing the Part D prescription drug open enrollment, which runs October 15th through December 7th, we saved our seniors over $500,000, either in premiums or co-pays or deductibles. We met with over 900 seniors during that open enrollment period and saved people over $500,000. We discovered over $1 million in eligible benefits for seniors. We had a gentleman who was not on Meals on Wheels, who was also blind. This is not the same gentleman that we eradicated the rattlesnake from his home, who told us tearfully when we went and let him know that he was now off the waiting list and going to be on Meals on Wheels program, blind in a wheelchair, crying, thanked us because he told us he had been living on 1 hot dog per day. That's what he told us.
Wow.
I don't have any reason not to believe that. And so these are the kind of things that are happening right here in Washington County. You said, why is there a waiting list? Primarily it has to do with funding, is a big piece of it, okay? And the other piece of it is called the baby boomers generation, which is rolling in,
Right. So
okay?
the population is growing.
Yeah, with the larger demand.
Yes.
All right, larger demand. So the fact of the funding has been a combination of several things, or lack of funding. During fiscal year 2016 through 2021, during those years, the average increase in county funds to the Commission on Aging averaged $1.97 3 of those years was a 0 increase. So that automatically put the agency behind.
Right.
And so I roll in 2018 and I'm seeing these no increases in county funds or a very small amount of increase in county funds. And I mistakenly said in one of my earlier board meetings, because I always ask questions, I'm new, and I say in this board meeting, which one of these federal programs can we get rid of and move that money over to Meals on Wheels to get rid of this waiting list? And after the board got done laughing, they said, you can't do that. Those funds are in a box.
Earmarked.
They're earmarked.
Right.
It's like if I gave you a gift card to Walmart,
Right.
and you took that gift card that I gave you to Walmart and went to Martin's grocery store,
Not gonna
supermarket,
work.
to use it, they're going to say, sorry, Reggie.
Right.
You got to go to Walmart.
That's no good here.
It's no good here. Right, it's no good here. It's the same situation. So we can't move those dollars. Okay, so we basically fund the Meals on Wheels program primarily from county funds, grant writing, and donations from the community.
Gotcha.
Okay, and so we are currently at $1.17 million from the county. We got a 10% increase for fiscal year 2025, which takes effect in July 1. Okay, took us to 1.17 in funds. In order to make these waiting lists go away, we really need to be at 1.7 or 1.8 million from the county. That's where we need to be. Now, we're doing great on fundraising, and we'll get into that maybe in the next section, and I'll give you some examples of that.
Let me ask you, just before we get off the county thing, how does our county compare to other counties in Maryland in terms of funding these programs?
Trying to get me in trouble, aren't you?
I didn't even know whether you had the answer.
I got the answer. Yeah, I've gotten in trouble with that already before.
So I won't be the first.
No. So
Okay.
Be the
You
last.
obviously don't watch the meetings that I watch.
yeah. Anyway, so here's the numbers, and as I always say, here's the truth, because I know that my integrity is intact. So, of the 4 western counties, which would be Garrett, Allegheny to our west, Frederick to our east, and then Washington County, we are dead last
Wow.
in funding seniors per dollar per senior. Okay. If I give you some numbers, I've got some up-to-date numbers, and this is going to be for fiscal year 24.
After the 10% increase.
Well, that would be fiscal year 25.
Oh,
So
okay.
Let me see if I have those numbers.
No, that's all right. 24 is fine.
Yeah, we're still in 24, fiscal year 24. Allegheny County per senior is $59.93. Garrett County per senior is $77.11. Frederick County is $242.52. Washington County is $37.07.
Ouch.
So we're not just behind, we're way behind.
We're way behind, and a part of that way behind is created, as I said, by the lack of funding increases in fiscal year 2016 through 21. The fact of the matter that in the last 3 years, we have gotten decent increases. My first year as board president, we got 15%. Last year was 10%, this year's 10%. But it's not enough to catch up, and I have given this message out, not pointing fingers or blaming anybody, because I don't care about blaming anybody. I don't care what happened in the past. We've got to get these numbers up to support the seniors in Washington County that are getting larger and larger numbers, even as we sit here. Do you realize that today, in the United States of America, today, and every day in 2024, 11,000 people will turn age 65. 11,000 per day. Now, that's not Washington County, that's the entire country, but
Right.
we've got our share, obviously. And so it's coming. And I have several friends of mine who are funeral directors, and I've said to them, jokingly but seriously, the baby boomer generation rolling in here, it might be a bonanza for you, but for the Commission on Aging, it's a catastrophe.
Right.
We should take a break.
All right. Well, gentlemen, stay with us. We're going to jump into some more of this, but we'll take a break first. Okay. Stay with us. We'll have more of the flip side after the break. Welcome back to the show. We're still joined by Ed Lough, the president of the board of directors of the Washington County Commission on Aging, and Herb Smith, the district governor of Rotary International. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. We were wrapping up our last segment. We were talking about Meals on Wheels. Jim, we want to jump forward and talk about some of the challenges and solutions, so go right ahead.
Well, clearly funding is a challenging thing for you. You've already highlighted that. I'm sure you'll highlight more. But what are some of the other challenges? What are the funding challenges in addition to what we've already talked about, and what are the others?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, obviously, is the ability to serve the fastest growing segment of the population, where many of them live on limited incomes. That's growing demands and lack of sustainable funds. I mean, that's pretty much a combination, which we sort of said earlier. We have this 200 folks waiting for an appointment, intake interviews, which is through our Maryland Access Point, which is called MAP, because in the United States we we always make it letters, right? So Maryland Access Point becomes MAP, and I said nobody knows what that means. So what it means is it's your intake interview. You call, you schedule an interview, and 4 months from now we'll see you, which is just crazy. We lose about 18 or so people annually that are on the waiting list for an interview because they pass away, okay, or they go into a nursing home full time. So that's a problem with the waiting list, obviously.
Now, let me ask you something. For specifically the senior center, do they have to have an intake interview before becoming a member there?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No. That is those are seniors that are viable, younger seniors, or it could be older seniors that are still in great shape. They come in to use the facilities, participate in the programs, aerobics, and all kinds of educational programs and education on health and certain illnesses and diseases. We also have an attorney that will come in and talk about some of the legal things. We have an elder law attorney that comes in to talk about some of the legalities that seniors need to be aware of in planning and things of that nature. So we have a ton of activities, and all they have to do is just register, give us their name and address, so we can use that for the grant writing and to remember. They have to re-register every year, and so we usually end up with little 2,000 plus folks that use that facility on an annual basis.
Wow.
Okay. So that's, we've struggled to find staff, and this is another one of these really serious challenges, Jim. In addition to the things we've already talked about, we've struggled to find staff in this market as our salaries and benefit package is not competitive in the marketplace. With our limited funds, we're doing the best we can. I mean, we as the board of directors, we're currently engaged in a market study to see how far off we are. I could give you an estimate, and this isn't exact, but I've run this by a couple of our CPAs that are on our finance committee. Would this work? This may not be the exact numbers, but this would be a great help. I shared this with one or two of the county commissioners in a private meeting after they approved the budget, and that is that if the county were to increase our funding over the next 5 years by $250,000 every year for 5 years, that's $1.2 million. I'm going to use what we get now, 1.17. I'm going to round it up to 1.2 million for easy math, right? I don't want to do tough math. I want to do easy math. So 1.2 plus 1.2 is 2.4. So 5 years from now, we'd be at 2.4 million. Under the current increases that they're giving us at 10% annually, we're not going to get to 2.4 in 5 years. Not even going to be close. And so that, I think, is one simple solution that may not, take care of everything, but it will take care of the majority of things. It's like if you buy a long-term care insurance policy and you buy a benefit for $10,000 a month today, and by the time you used it, the cost of the nursing home is $14,000 a month. You only got to pay $4,000 a month out of pocket, right? Which is better than paying $14,000 a month out of pocket, correct? And so that's the thought that I used in this, being in the business that I'm in, of saying, let's do $250,000 a year. Let's get another 1.2 million in the county budget for the Commission on Aging. We'll be at 2.4 million in 5 years, and we should be able to get rid of the majority of the wait list for an interview and the wait list for the Meals on Wheels. Now, will it totally go away? Probably not, because of the influx of the baby boomer generation.
Right.
But if we started at 2.4 5 years from now, and then we were getting 10 to 15% increases on top of that annually, we're in a much better position than we're going to be if we just get a 10 or 15% going forward every year. We'll just never catch up, Reggie. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. It sounds like the challenge is that the influx of baby boomers is overwhelming the system. And in essence, at the rate you're going now, that waiting list is going to get longer. Right? Because if you're at 4 months just to get an interview, and then you're on another waiting list to take part in the program, what would you estimate to be that total length of time?
Well, let me preface that by giving you this piece of information, and I will then give you that answer. We are about to lose the American Rescue Funds at the end of September of this year. We'll be forced to make cuts to services. We estimate, to answer your question, we estimate that that wait list for an interview is going to go from 4 months to possibly 7.
Wow.
We estimate that we may have to take 70 people, 70 seniors right now,
Off.
who are receiving Meals on Wheels, off of Meals on Wheels. 70.
How do you determine who you would take off?
That's going to have to be done by the committees with probably input from the regulators, or it's going to be needs-based. I don't know. Certainly the board's not going to be involved in that decision. That's going to all be done at CEO level, input from the state, those types of things, of who these 70 people are, or how can we figure out to keep them on. And if we keep them on, then we may have to extend that wait list from 7 months to 12 months. Personally, I would prefer to do that than take people off a food list that are already getting food.
Right.
But we have to weigh this thing and which way it's going to be. And so that's why when we came into the budget meetings this year, back in February, when we had our original budget hearing with the county, we told them, you got to take us to 1.8 million. You got to take us from, we were at 1,067,000 before our 10% increase, okay? We told them, you got to get us to 1.7, 1.8 million so this doesn't happen. We gave them the facts, the numbers, the statistics, why it's occurring, the fiscal years 2016 through 2021, lack of funding that's helped to create this problem. But you have the opportunity to fix it, okay? You can be the heroes and fix this. You got to get us to that number, or we may have to cut people that are getting food, or we're going to extend these wait times from 4 months to heaven knows what.
Right.
And dot.
Well, I mean, I think this is obvious that this is a quality of life issue in our community that's exploding. And, you know, I know that you're very passionate about it. You know, I've joked with you in regards to seeing you at county commissioner meetings, standing on the table, basically talking about these issues.
Yeah, pounding my shoe on the table.
Right.
And thanks for the jokes, Reggie.
But where does your, and kind of off, but where's your advocacy coming from? Because, you know, if baby boomers that are on the front end of retirement that aren't experiencing these things today, if they aren't fighting for these things are going to be hitting them in the bud in the next 10 years or so.
I do once a month a program at the senior center called Meet the President, okay? And I give the seniors that show up information and take questions to be transparent and to let them know exactly what's going to happen. Because the people that come in to those meetings don't really need a whole lot of our services. They're there as members of the senior center. They're involved in the activities. They're walking in, they're walking out, they're living at home. They probably are still married, have a spouse. They probably have a relationship with their kids still. They don't miss meals, okay? So I'm giving them the story, kind of like what I'm giving here somewhat to this on this show, what's going to happen down the road. Your point is so direct that it's time for the senior population, those who don't need our services per se yet, that might need our services, that may need our services,
That vote.
to start. Say that louder, because I didn't want to say that without you saying it. Go ahead, say it.
Those that vote.
Those that vote have to start voting for people who are going to support and fund seniors.
Absolutely, because it's to me, this is akin to like Social Security, right? We know that Social Security is in crisis and the program is going to need to change, but we keep kicking the can down the road
every year.
right? And we
Yeah.
keep trying to mask the problem until it's at critical mass when politicians will have no choice but to make a decision. But you know, if you start looking and you crunching the numbers, you know that the earlier that you can start to address it, even if they couldn't meet you the full way, even if they could meet you part of the way,
Halfway.
Right.
Let's start at halfway.
right?
Yeah.
Let's start someplace.
You know, and one of the other things is that Amy has been speaking at Rotary Club meetings, and Ed, of course, is a Rotarian at Hagerstown Sunrise, and I myself. The more the generations that are not needing services become more aware of
Yes.
their grandmother is eventually going to starve. Their grandmother is going to fall and no one can help her.
Right.
Those are the kind of pictures that need to be painted to bring people the seriousness of this.
I think that, you know, the other consideration is that if we're all blessed enough, we're going to live to that age where we're going to need society to help us along when we get there. And it's that compassion that we have for those there, and we can pray that we will get the same type of treatment when we're there. I just think that, you know, I'm not sure of what your awareness campaigns is to some of your constituencies that don't even know that they are, right? Because they don't need your services today.
And that's why I started doing those meetings at
Yeah.
the senior center, to bring people in, to make more and more people aware. And I will tell you that the shock and awe on some of their faces tells me that I'm glad they got this information, because they were unaware. Reggie, I was unaware until I got on this board.
Right.
I had no idea. I didn't live in that world. I didn't know. You know, my mother's 95 years old and she's self-sufficient.
Right.
My father lived till he was 90. Didn't need any services like that, okay? But that's not everybody.
Right.
There are people right now that are living at home, that are homebound, that lost their spouse, living alone, that had no idea 20 or 30 or 40 years ago this is where they were going to end up.
Right.
Had absolutely no idea. It's not going to happen to me. Ask somebody if they were going to go to a nursing home, and what are they going to tell you? Nope.
Nope.
So who's in these nursing homes?
The people that said that we're never
So
going to
who
be
becomes
there.
homebound and doesn't have food?
And the people that were saying, well, I'm not going to live that long.
And they're the ones that live to 100.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, God's revenge. Okay, you say you're not going to live, I'll fix you.
Yeah.
Well, you're just going to live to 100 then. So it's these people didn't understand that they were going to be in that situation. Their spouse died. Their kids might live in who knows where. Maybe they didn't have any kids. Maybe they had some kids and the kids don't care about them. Okay, we have a lot of that going on in our society as well. So by no fault of their own, they're homebound, living alone, and they are food deprived. And we can't get enough funds to feed these people. And as I said earlier, they help build this county. They help build this state. They help build this town. They paid their taxes, raised their families, worked here, and we're ignoring them. You know, I like to talk about it. I'm going to give Tim Fisher the credit for this. He talked about the bookends of society. He talked about this at the budget hearing. I guess it was in May.
In May, yeah.
In May. After the county told us what they were going to give us, you get a chance to go in and try to twist some arms to get it changed, which normally doesn't occur. The only two organizations that are normally there at those meetings is the Board of Education and the Commission on Aging. So Tim spoke about the bookends. The one bookend is our youth, our students.
Yep.
That they've got to be funded properly in our school systems to get the proper education and to be able to hire the amount of teachers and aides and whatever else you need to make sure that all these kids have an opportunity to be able to read and write. Because if you can't read and write when you get out of school, you're done. Unless you become some YouTube guy, and you know, maybe that's great, but that's not everybody. It's like, how many people make the Pro Football League, or how many people make the Major League Baseball teams, right? There are those exceptions. But primarily, you've got to have an education. The other end of that bookend is the seniors.
Right.
And so it may be time for the educational folks and the Commission on Aging folks to maybe join some forces here to make sure that the bookends in our society, in our county, are funded properly. Because that's where, and everything else in between is what occurs. But if your youth aren't educated, then they can't be a good person giving to society and working and paying taxes. If you don't reward the seniors who built this place and make sure they're taken care of when they get to the other end of the bookend, what is that saying about your morality?
Agree.
Yeah. And some of those seniors are veterans.
Right.
Well, a lot of them are.
Yeah. So, and we know that they gave their time. And this is how we reward them, by ignoring them. It's just not acceptable.
Yeah. Well, we talk a lot of politics on this show. And
You do.
Yes, I do.
Ed never talked politics on
not
the
at
show
all.
when he was
no,
on.
no, not me.
Never, right?
That's my wife. She'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Never talked about
I've seen the archives, so I know better. But you have an active audience that needs to be activated over the next 2 years, because there's going to be folks running around this county begging for your vote in 2 years. And I think that this needs to be a major issue on the table, where if there are forums and debates, you need to know where they are. And I think that those that are running should not be allowed to be vague in their answers and political. I think they need to make a stand.
Yeah, I think the questions would be, if I was involved in a forum, which I used to be when I was chair of the Chamber of Commerce here in Washington County, Hagerstown. We had the forums with it. Happened to be an election year the year I was the chair of the board there. The question that would be asked, that seniors need to ask, or needs to be asked at the forums, is not, do you support seniors? Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
How?
It's, how are we going to fix this problem? How much funding are you willing to take the county to? Are you willing to take it to 1.8? Are you willing to do $250,000 a year for 5 years to start the catch-up game? What are you willing to do? Say it, and then if we vote for you and vote you in, we have to hold you accountable to actually do it. That's the way the question need to be. What are you going to do to fix this? What kind of funding levels would you be in favor of getting the county to do for our seniors here in Washington County? Does that make sense or not?
It does. And you talked a little bit earlier about government agencies. How do they play into this? Is there a possibility of more money coming from the federal government to plug this gap?
Federal government has their own programs under the, what did I say in the beginning? The Older Americans Act from 1965. No, those programs are those programs. There may be a little bit of money that funnels off of the federal money under the Meals on Wheels program, but not really. And the same with the state money, not really. Those are all pigeonholed.
So this is a local community issue. The solution has to come from here.
Grants, county funding, and fundraising.
Yep.
Let me give you a fundraising example. And I don't want to make any firemen or fire companies angry, because this is a positive for them, okay? Fire companies do fundraising, don't they? I mean, you see the
All the time.
barbecues,
Yeah.
Bingo,
carnivals,
carnivals,
all of
that.
you name it.
Yeah, and they're raising money for things that they need, just like we're raising money for things that we need. The fire companies can't raise enough money off of their bingos and their chicken barbecues and their fairs. They can't raise enough money that way to buy a fire truck. You can't raise enough money
Right.
to buy a fire truck. The county has to buy the fire truck, right? We can raise money to help with this, but the county has to buy the seniors a fire truck. They're going to fund the Meals on Wheels program.
Right.
The money we raise will help, but it's not going to buy
not
the
gonna
fire
do
truck.
It's not
do it.
going to, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a drop in the pail.
Now obviously, your Herb is a big supporter. You're working with him. And what are some of the other agencies or nonprofits or community organizations that you partner with?
Well, we partner with a lot of different ones, and Amy really has that list. I know we partner with the CAC
Yes.
at this point.
And that has to be a great relationship, right? Because Pastor Tim Fisher was
one of our employees.
He
was
the
one of your
development person.
employees.
Development and marketing, yeah.
So now you're working. Now he's the head of another organization. So I would imagine that's a really strong partnership.
That happened like immediately. We had tried to partner with them in the past, and really didn't have much success. But as
Right.
soon as he became the guy over there, bang, we were right in.
That's what
United
happens when
Way.
organizations
United
get
Way.
great
Yeah,
leadership.
Yeah, that's right.
Way.
Yeah.
And I think Goodwill.
Goodwill, United Way. I'm going to miss people, and probably food banks. And I did want to say that our meals are prepared by Leiter's Fine Catering.
Okay.
Okay, and not only do they prepare the meals, they also deliver the meals to our 7 congregate sites, which is really a big help.
It is.
And we've been criticized, or not criticized, let me use the right word, we've been questioned by some at the county as to why our meals cost $10.50 a meal. And we've explained the nutritional requirements. And that's just the answer. And when we have to put in, so they ask us, well, why don't you put this out for bid? Well, we do put it out for bid. I think we put it out for bid every 3 years or so. The last time we put the bid out, the only people that bid on it was Leiter's Fine Catering, thank goodness. Nobody else bid.
Right.
You know, the prison systems didn't bid, the school board didn't bid, the hospital didn't bid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not criticizing them for not bidding. Maybe they don't have the ability to do it at this point with other things that they're involved in. But thank goodness for Leiter's Catering. The question becomes, if Leiter's Catering ever goes away, or they retire, or they go away, who's going to prepare these meals?
Right.
That's another issue that we're facing.
So you have a succession
Down the
plan
road.
there in
We're
regards to.
trying to get a succession plan, but
Right.
we don't currently have one.
Well, and those that would question the $10 a meal, have they eaten out lately?
Exactly.
And I don't mean eat out at like a fancy place. I mean go to a fast food joint or
My goodness, one meal
Out
$14
for a sub.
at
Exactly.
McDonald's.
Exactly.
I hate to give them a plug, but you know
you
that's
eat at
essentially what.
McDonald's?
No, not anymore.
But and that does and that
Costs
doesn't
too
have the
much.
dietary restrictions that of what your meals.
McDonald's
have
is
to have.
not going to fit the dietary restrictions.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Chicken and French fries is not going to fit it. Now, if I was 85 years old and I was going without food, I'd take the chicken and fries in a heartbeat. But the state and the federal government, they won't let you. You've got to have. It's got to be signed off by a dietitian, and that's just the rules. That's just the way it is. Because I had said to Amy again, somewhat new on the board, right? When I heard about the dietary restrictions, and I said, where's it come from? It comes from the state of Maryland. I said, well, we have a new secretary. Let's go meet with the new secretary, and let's get the legislators to change that. And she said, it's through the state, but it really is mandated by the Food
Federal.
and Drug Administration.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can get a meeting with the Congress.
Not easily.
Not easily, yeah, not easily. So that's another part of that issue.
You know, we were talking about challenges and solutions. One of the things that you mentioned was the volunteer base that you have to deliver the Meals on Wheels and potentially other things. Can you talk to us about availability of volunteer hours and how that's worked?
Well, we always need more volunteers. The other thing we need is part-time volunteers for our volunteers when they're sick or they go on vacation or they're not in town. That's the other issue too. If our funding increases, we have to be able to have more volunteers because we're going to be delivering more meals, right?
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword, Jim.
Right.
So those of you that are healthy, and you don't have to be a senior to be a volunteer to deliver meals. You know, it'll be an eye-opener if you do that. And in essence, when you go into someone's home who's disabled or who is homebound, and you're the only person that they might see that entire day, and you begin to bond a relationship there, and that meeting may last more than 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but you now have given this person a reason to live. You can talk to anybody who runs a nursing home, anybody who runs an assisted living facility, and they will tell you the most important thing for seniors is socialization.
That's correct.
And when you're homebound, you don't have any socialization.
Right.
So this person who comes in to bring that meal and to do a check, to make a safety check, spends time with you and you develop a relationship, you've now got some socialization. This is why so many seniors died, I believe, during the pandemic, who were alone in nursing homes, et cetera, because their entire network of socialization
off.
Was gone.
completely cut off. And anybody in that business, which I'm not in the nursing home or assisted living business, but anybody that I've talked to always say that the number one priority is socialization. Now right below that is food, because socialization is no good if you're starving to death.
Right.
And their mental health is so very critically important, because if someone starts to become depressed and there's not a mental health check-in, that person, could be suicidal. So that socialization plays such a very intricate part with the Meals on Wheels program.
Did I answer the question you asked me?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to be sure.
Reg, let's take a break and then we'll come back and wrap up.
All right, very good. Stay with us. We'll have more of the flip side after the break. Welcome back to the show. Ed and Herb, thank you for staying with us. You've shared a lot of information with us tonight. I hope it has been as eye-opening for our community as it has been for me, and understanding, we're in the financial business, so understanding the demographic changes and how that affects things other than just finances, right? It affects just our population and the needs of the population as our population is aging. So thank you for all that information. Jim, I know there were some few things you want to jump into before we wrap up tonight.
Yeah, so I guess, and during the break we were talking about fundraisers, and I know you have one and Herb has one. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay, you want to do yours first? You want me to do it?
Oh, no, I can go.
Go ahead.
I'm going to be running out to restaurants here in Washington County, looking for a $40 gift card, that's it, from those restaurants, and we're going to do a tour of the restaurants in Washington County. So we're going to do a raffle for each one of these. So the first prize will be 10 gift cards, so that's $400. And then the second prize will be 5 gift cards, and the third prize will also be 5 gift cards. But overall, I'd like to try and sell 1,000 raffle tickets at $25, which will give us $25,000 to go for the Meals on Wheels program.
Wow.
So here, starting in next week, I'll be running out to restaurants.
And when you start running this raffle, where will people see this being promoted?
It's going to be promoted on the Washington County Commission on Aging's Facebook page. It'll be on my personal Facebook page. It'll probably be captured by some of the local Rotary clubs. Hagerstown Sunset Rotary is going to be assisting me with this fundraiser, but hopefully get $25,000 into the Commission on Aging within like a 60-day window, which would be great.
All right.
And as a Rotarian, I'll probably put that on my Facebook page as well.
There you go. I would hope so.
Well, you two guys are 2 popular men in town, so that'll cover a lot of the citizens.
Does he know us?
I think he does. I think he stalks us.
I think he does. There's something wrong with that statement right there.
Tell us about yours, Ed.
Well, we have a challenge as well. At our gala at St. James on April the 20th, we had 2 folks come forward and donated $12,500 each for Meals on Wheels. And the challenge is we had to raise another $25,000 to match that, to get to $50,000. And we are approaching that. The opportunity to donate to this, it's called the Meals on Wheels Challenge, is June the 17th. All checks are written to the Community Foundation. They're holding all the funds until this ends. They will then give that money to the Commission on Aging, and every dollar of that is earmarked specifically and only for the Meals on Wheels program. So you can call the Community Foundation to get all the information, to get a check to them, and they'll tell you to write in the memo, Meals on Wheels Challenge. And I'm going to give you the phone number of the Community Foundation so that you can call. I don't care if it's $5, $10, $25, whatever it is you can do is going to help, because every dollar is going to help us, number one, feed folks, and number two, maybe not have to remove those 70 people
off of here
when these funds end at the end of September,
Right.
the American Rescue Act. So that phone number is, I'll do it twice and I'll do it slow.
Okay.
Mike Day taught me that right, on his radio show. 301-745-5210. Again, 301-745-5210. That's the Community Foundation. That's who the checks are written to.
And can you do a donation online for
You
that as
can.
well?
Yes, there is a website.
Yeah.
So just the Community Foundation website?
Yeah,
the
it's-
cfwcmd.org,
That's exactly it.
I believe.
It's not on this flyer.
Yeah, it
believe
is.
or not. Is it?
Okay.
Here it is. Thank you. Very good.
Young eyes.
www.cfwcmd.org.
Okay, excellent.
I'm going to do it again. www. I don't know who ever thought of all those W's to start this stuff.
World Wide Web.
That's what, thank you very much. You're just a wealth of information, Herb.
Sometimes.
I'm so happy I know you. www.cfwcmd.org. We got orgs, we got nets, we got .com,
We got dot everything.
We
right?
got a dot for everything. That's right.
we got Yahoo and
Ed,
Yahoo.
last question that I have for
Yes,
you.
sir.
Others that are passionate about serving the elderly and want to make a difference in that community here in Washington County, what should they do? What are their next steps? How can they get involved?
Well, the next step is they need to call the Washington County Commission on Aging
Or stop by.
or stop by. Stop down at the senior center. Well, that's where our offices are. We're at the senior center. Stop by or call down there and say, I'd like to volunteer to deliver food. I'd like to volunteer to help with services. I want to be a member of the senior center. If you're 55 and older, there's no charge. It's free. I want to talk to the board president. I might want to serve on the board. I want to put my name on the county list to be a member of the advisory council, because the county commissioners all appoint the advisory council members. And so you can put your name in at the county to be considered to be on our advisory council. So those are the kind of things that you can do. That phone number to Commission on Aging again is 301-790-0275.
And that is all the time we have, Reg, I'm being told.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight.
Our pleasure.
Ed, I think we were well behaved, better than expected. So
On air.
yeah,
On air.
But we really appreciate you guys. This is important information for our community, and we look forward to following back up and hearing better news.
Thank you.
Well, that is all the time that we have for tonight. We hope that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and send us your comments to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That is feedback@theflipsidetv.com. But most importantly, join us again next week for another episode of The Flip Side.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
To get worse, we didn't know what to do. The doctor told us the best gift we could give her was to call Hospice of Washington County. He was right. Hospice helped us bring Mom home. That time at home together really was a gift. Looking back, I know we did the right thing. Thank you, Hospice of Washington County.
It's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.